There comes a point in almost every man's life when everything between him and a woman quietly shifts. And it doesn't happen when he sends more messages, tries harder, or bends over backward to impress her. The shift happens when his energy naturally pulls back, when he stops over investing, and she can feel that he's no longer emotionally centered on her. That's the moment most men don't see clearly, because what happens next often surprises them. Women notice this change much sooner than you think. They are incredibly tuned in to your level of interest, even if they never mention it out loud. Welcome back to the channel where we break down the psychology behind attraction, connection, and emotional dynamics between men and women. In this video, I'm going to walk you through what really happens when a woman senses that you've lost interest, and why her reactions can completely change the way you see relationships. Once you understand this, you will never look at her behavior the same way again. 1. The initial shock. The first thing that usually happens is not anger, not indifference, but shock. Women are highly perceptive when it comes to emotional changes. She can feel the difference in your tone, your timing, your warmth, the way your eyes don't light up in the same way when you see her. Even if you haven't said anything directly, the energy speaks. For a long time, she may have felt like she knew exactly where she stood with you. You were the one reaching out, taking initiative, giving attention, showing interest. Whether she fully appreciated it or not, she got used to it. So when that pattern shifts, even just a little, it unsettles her sense of control. She starts replaying recent moments in her mind. Did something change? Did I do something wrong? Is he losing interest? Has he met someone else? These questions don't always come from deep love. Often they come from ego and habit. Your attention was a form of emotional validation, and seeing that energy pull away creates a gap she didn't expect. You'll notice this shock show up subtly. She suddenly pays more attention to your online activity. She asks small, indirect questions about your day. She looks at you a little longer, trying to read you. The important thing to realize is this: her shock is not proof that she wants a relationship. It's proof that your presence mattered more than you gave yourself credit for. Second, the sudden wave of attention. After the shock comes something even more interesting: her attention. The same woman who seemed distant, distracted, or half in now starts leaning back in. She may text first when she rarely did. She might laugh more openly at what you say. She might bring up memories, inside jokes, or shared moments from the past. It can feel confusing, especially if you've already started emotionally stepping back. But this is a very human pattern. People tend to value what they feel is no longer guaranteed. When you were constantly available, she didn't have to question whether she still had your focus. Now that your energy is more grounded, her mind wants to restore the balance. The extra attention is often her way of checking, do I still matter to him like before? This doesn't always mean she suddenly wants something serious. Many times it's about reassurance. She wants to know that she could still have your attention if she truly wanted it. This is the part where a lot of men quickly slip back into old habits. She sends one warm message, and he goes all in again. Instant replies, high emotional investment, dropping everything to engage. When that happens, the dynamic instantly resets. She knows she still has the same emotional hold over him, and the attraction that was starting to rebuild through distance softens again. The key here is balance. You can respond, you can be kind, but you don't need to abandon your own priorities just because she's suddenly paying more attention. Third, the quiet rise of jealousy. Once she feels your focus isn't guaranteed, another reaction often appears beneath the surface: jealousy. Jealousy doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's as simple as her asking, "So, been busy lately? Out with friends? Who were you with earlier?" When your time and energy are no longer centered on her, She naturally wonders where they're going, not because she owns you, but because your value in her eyes is rising again. What many men don't see is how subtle jealousy can be. A playful comment about your social life, a joking remark about your fan club, a curious glance when your phone lights up. This is usually not a sign to over explain or justify yourself. The more you rush to make her feel secure, the more you give away the grounded energy you've just developed. Instead, the healthy response is calm honesty. You don't have to hide your life, but you also don't have to perform or prove anything. Simply living fully, with or without her, creates a natural sense of mystery that can restart genuine attraction. Her jealousy in these moments isn't meant to be weaponized or used against her. It's simply a sign that your absence is felt, that your presence had emotional weight, and that she's beginning to recognize it. Fourth, the testing phase. Once she realizes you're not as predictable as before, a new phase often begins. She starts testing your consistency. These tests are rarely planned, they're more instinctive than strategic. She wants to know if the new version of you, the one who's less available, more centered, more self respecting, is real. So she might take longer to respond on purpose, mention another guy casually to see if you react, cancel or reschedule plans to watch how you handle it. The goal isn't to hurt you, it's to answer a few silent questions in her mind. Is he actually grounded, or is he just pretending? Will he stay centered if I pull back again? Is his interest healthy, or is it based on needing validation? Most men react immediately. They get defensive, jealous, or overly emotional. In that moment, she sees that his new distance was never true growth, just a phase. But if you handle this calmly, without arguments, without dramatizing, without trying to control her, something powerful happens. Her respect for you grows. You're showing her that your emotional stability doesn't depend on her behavior, and that is rare. Fifth, emotional swings and your steadiness. As all of this unfolds, her emotions may start to fluctuate. Some days she might seem warm, engaged, and open. Other days she might come across as distant or unclear. This can be very confusing if you don't understand what's happening internally. These swings often reflect her own inner conflict. Part of her is drawn back in by your new steadiness. Another part is unsure, afraid of being vulnerable, or simply reacting out of habit. The biggest mistake men make here is matching her emotional swings. When she's cold, they chase. When she's warm, they rush in. They let her mood dictate their behavior. The healthier approach is to remain emotionally even. If she's distant, you don't punish her or chase harder. You stay polite, but you stay focused on your own life. If she's warm, you appreciate it, but you don't over-attach to that moment either. Your consistency becomes the anchor in a dynamic that used to feel unstable, and that stability is what makes you stand out. 6. The why him phase. If you stay steady long enough, you'll notice another shift. She starts thinking about you differently. She may not say it out loud, but internally she begins asking herself, why is he different now? Why doesn't he react the way he used to? Why can't I read him like before? This curiosity is powerful because curiosity is often where renewed attraction begins. She may watch you more carefully, pay closer attention to what you do, or ask more specific questions about your life. She's recalibrating how she perceives you. You used to be fully predictable. Now you're grounded, focused, and not emotionally dependent on her. In this stage, the worst thing you can do is start explaining your every move, or confess that you've been holding back to see how she acts. You don't need to over-clarify the change. You simply continue to live in alignment with your values, your goals, and your standards. The more she sees that this isn't an act, that you're genuinely growing and not acting out of anger or manipulation, the more her perception of you changes. 7th, the shift into respect. This is the most important stage of all, the respect shift. If you've stayed calm, consistent, and self respecting throughout the process, something deep changes in the way she sees you. You're no longer the man whose emotions rise and fall based on her responses. You're the man who cares, but doesn't cling, who shows interest, but doesn't abandon himself, who values connection, but also values his own peace. Respect is the foundation of any lasting attraction. Without it, everything else eventually fades. When she respects you, she chooses her words with more care. She shows up more consistently. She invests more effort. She no longer assumes you'll always be there no matter how she behaves. You didn't force this shift by playing games. You created it by valuing yourself. Final message. When a woman realizes you've lost interest, or more accurately, when she realizes you've stopped overgiving and started honoring your own value, her reactions reveal far more than her words ever could. From shock to sudden attention to subtle jealousy to testing and emotional swings. Every stage is a mirror reflecting how much your presence actually mattered. The lesson is not to become cold or manipulative. The lesson is to never trade your self-respect for someone else's approval. When you stay grounded, protect your peace, and lead your life with clarity and purpose, you stop needing to chase anyone. And ironically, that's when the right people begin to chase you. If this spoke to you, remember this. You don't win by trying to control her emotions. You win by mastering your own.